What's going on, guys? Welcome to the David F Haas Podcast. I'm your host, David F Haas. I'm lucky to have a guest today, my good friend from high school, Ty Stacyszn. He's a local real estate agent, does a bunch of stuff, and he's had a lot of success in the real estate market. So without further ado, Ty, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so the reason I wanted to bring you on is, I thought you had a really good story. You've had a lot of success in real estate, like kind of earlier on, even though I know you've been in it for 10 years, and there's probably, from what I see as an outsider, being like, oh, he's killing it. You know, I was at his house the other day. I'm like, what, are you a millionaire now because of the real estate market? And he's like, told me the truth. So there's always like an outsider's perspective. But I just thought that it would be interesting to kind of hear your story, because you were kind of going one direction in life, and then you made a decision at one point that you wanted to go in a completely, pretty much different direction. So why don't you just start by kind of like walking us through where you were, what you went to school for, and then how you landed in real estate.
Yeah, sure. So when I was younger, I think right from high school, I was taking a class that was like the morning announcements. I don't know if you remember that. Remember the morning announcements? It was all on video.
Yeah.
And
TikTok.
Yes. So, we dressed up as characters and did little skits and stuff. But I was mostly interested in the editing aspect of it. So video editing and the photography and things like that. So I had signed up to Fanshawe College thinking that, that's what I was taking there. But once I got there, we quickly found out it was a very dated program, and the curriculum hadn't changed for 20 years. And we were doing slide presentations, and the photography was okay. It was developing your own pictures in the black room, but it was very little video editing. So that kind of sucked a little bit, but I learned that I do like some of the other aspects, and I was introduced to Photoshop and kind of some web design stuff, and that really kind of piqued my interest. And the whole second year of that program was mostly web-based, and then I kind of just, from the relationships that I had built in college, found some employment back in, I think I started in Guelph, doing web design. I started as a junior web designer, like making $30K a year at the bottom of the barrel. But after a couple of years, worked my way up, and eventually, I think I had 4 or 5 different jobs in the GTA area, being a web designer, and then was fortunate enough to get a job back home as a lead designer, or at the time I was the only designer, but then I kind of grew to be the manager of that department, creative director, so to speak. We had 10, 12 designers under us. And, the company went from, I think I was the 6th, 7th employee, all the way up to like 80. We had a branch in Ohio, and things were starting to get bad. The company wasn't doing well after about 8 years. And I could kind of see the writing on the wall. So I was trying to figure, what am I going to do? There's really no other good web jobs in Windsor-Essex County, and I did not want to move back to Toronto. At that point, I was comfortable to be home, happy to be with my family and friends. And so I don't know what it was. I had my feet up on my desk, and I don't know if it's we call it an epiphany or what, but I'm just like, real estate. Why not real estate? I had read Rich Dad, Poor Dad when I was younger, and that was like a light bulb saying, I don't want to work for someone else the rest of my life. That whole story of how you can kind of do things on your own if you have the proper mindset. And so I kind of always knew in the back of my head I didn't want to work for somebody the rest of my life, but I didn't know what that meant. So it seemed like, hey, let's give real estate a shot. So I started taking the courses as I was still working at that company. Eventually I was let go, and kind of transitioned into real estate about 6 months later. And here we are today, 10 or 11 years later. So
yeah, and when you made the decision to go to real estate, I was like, that was just like so fitting for you. It was almost like you had been guided to be in real estate your whole entire life. And I think that your personality just feeds in so well to real estate. It's like it's a sales job, but it's not really like a salesy job. It's like if someone doesn't like a house, you're not going to try and sell them on buying the house, right? So it was about building relationships, and I think that's like was probably like one of the reasons you had such early success. Like, I mean, but did you have early success? I mean, that's just my mindset. I feel like you did, but like.
I mean, yeah, but to a certain extent, it's very hard to build a network and just, get your feet on the ground running and make $100K first year in real estate. It's a little bit easier now because house values are so high. But Yeah, that first couple of years, it takes a while to build a little bit of a network and to reach out to people and let them know, hey, I'm in real estate now. One of my main things was that, I kind of despised realtors prior to becoming one, because you have that persona of the slimy salesperson that's trying to push something on you. And I wanted to make sure you're not that guy. I'm not that guy. I just wanted to be there to help somebody facilitate the transaction. I wanted to be as true and as real as possible and help them using my expertise and just make it a painless process. Not, be the slimy kind of sales guy that has to, kind of go over and above to make the sale happen. I feel like if you want a house, you're going to buy a house, and I'm just going to help you buy it. I'm going to use my expertise and guide you along the way. And so I think that was part of the early success. Like you said, I had some good relationships with people at that age. At that point, I was 33, I think. So, we had met a lot of people in our lives. We have a good core group of friends, and that's what kind of gets you off the ground and running. We were all at the point where we were buying our first or second homes. So great time to get into the business, and then parents of friends and relatives and things like that. And then kind of just, you massage that network and branch out from there. And that's kind of all it's been. I'm not the kind of guy that spends thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a year in marketing, because right. I just don't see the need for it. I mean, to a certain extent, there is a need for it. You have to make sure people remember and see your face and, put the two together. But to be quite frank, I don't want to have to work 16 hours a day. And when you spend a lot of money in marketing and, hustle, which there's nothing wrong with that, the money flows from that. But it's time consuming. And I have a young family, and what's most important to me is managing my schedule so that I can kind of be there for my family as they're in their younger years. So
yeah, 100%. And I think you're doing a good job of that with all the stuff that you have on your plate. I mean, it seems to be that you still have a great family life and everything seems to be going well there. I am interested though. You really kind of hit a pinpoint of actually. I just heard a clip today, and it's always funny when I do these podcasts. That we were sitting down together, and Ty and I have been friends for. Oh fuck! Way too long. I mean, long since high school, right? And basically, when we were sitting down, I'm like, "What are we going to talk about?" I knew we were going to talk about real estate, of course, but then you just said something that sparked something, which was like with marketing. And this is a trap that I've got into a lot. Was like, I'm trying to do step 12 before I'm doing step 1. And I just saw a post today. It was like, you got to get back to the basics when you're first starting out, which is like building relationships. And that's essentially what you just fed off of. You started building these relationships. You already had relationships, and then you just continued to foster new relationships. And anyone that's ever bought a house from you knows is that you just have this this sense of ease about you. Like you and I have done. I don't know how many, 3 or 4 real estate transactions, and it's always been like just easy and flowing. And I think when I bought my first house with you, we looked at 60 houses or something like that back in the day when you could look at 60 houses. And it was all just easy. And I think that's what the draw is. And so when you focus on building relationships, you naturally just have natural advertising built in. You don't have to worry about step 12, which is like the email marketing and the billboards and the bench ads and Facebook ads and all that stuff. So what do you think it is with you? I'm putting you on the spot here because it's going to be a tough question to answer, but why do you think that you're so great at relationship building? I know one of your things is you got humor, which is great tool. So that's one I'll pinpoint for you, but what else do you think it is?
I don't know. I mean, I just feel like I'm always just trying to be real. I mean, if you want to ask me something, you're going to get the answer. So, and I don't hide anything. I don't pretend to be anyone that I'm not, sometimes to a fault. Some people maybe can't handle my personality because I'm just so out there, right?
Yeah.
But that's just who I am. I don't know. So some people may like it, some people may not, but I just try and be real. And usually that comes across genuine and in trying to help people realize that, I am there trying to help you. I'm not trying to push you towards anything, especially in this market. It's been a downfall of mine because I'm in some cases telling my clients, you're crazy if you pay that price, but I know they need to.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're not going to get the house. So I have to leave that decision to them, especially being an appraiser. I know what the values are and what the banks are going to look at that house as and what they're going to say about it. And Yeah, so to a fault, sometimes my honesty, can go against me, but I want my clients to understand that, I'm giving them true knowledge and honest knowledge, not just, a line of shit to get a sale done. Because at the end of the day, money's important, but it's not important for me to make $5 or $6 grand, but somebody buy a piece of crap that they paid way too much money for. It's just not that important.
Yeah. Man, that was a great answer. You like hit the nail on the head with that. Is that honesty? Because a lot of people suffer from like people pleasing, which is like just being a yes man, and especially when you get into like the getting game, when it's like, oh, I want to get the sale or whatever it may be. You see it like I've had a million conversations with salespeople. And they have all this energy and and it's so fake, and you can see right through it. And that's what I think that you don't have, and it's just because of that honesty. So it's like, one of my favorite Avenger characters is Iron Man, right? Because like he's just like not even Iron Man, like Tony Stark, right? And just because he tells people like it is, and so you're like the Tony Stark of real estate. But no, it's true though, because like people appreciate. That's why people are drawn to a character like Tony Stark, is because people appreciate honesty, and we somehow along the way got led to believe that people just want us to agree with everything that they say. But in actuality, it's like you don't want to surround yourself with yes men. You want to surround yourself with someone that's actually going to tell you like it is. Like, I remember walking through quite a few houses with you, and where we would walk in, might not even get 2 steps in the door. Where like you would be like, you want to get out of here? Like, this house sucks, right? And I'm like, yeah, let's go, right? You just like not going through the motions of, maybe they're going to see something that I'm not going to see. It's just like, no, like we could sense together, and you're just saying, I don't think this is the house for you, right? And I was like, yeah, 100%. Yeah. So yeah, no, great answer. What do you think? Besides relationships, what has also led to, because I've seen you post on Facebook that you're in the top, one of your producers of Deerbrook, and you've like, I know you bounced around a little bit, or once I think from one agency to another agency. Is that what you call it?
Yeah. Brokerage.
Yep. To another. And so, I mean, obviously relationships has been huge, and word of mouth has been number one, but has there been anything else that you can really pinpoint that has led to your success in real estate? Timing, I guess, would be one.
Yeah, timing. And I don't know. I think, like you say, it's just mostly the core of my business comes from friends, family, extended family. I've had very few, off the cuff referrals where they're just complete strangers that I didn't know that, I converted into clients, and then they referred me, and, that may come, and I'm open to that, but I like dealing with people that I know, because from the get-go, they already know my personality. They know they can trust me. And anybody who is referred to me from a family member has been converted into somewhat of a friend. Like, these are people that I add to Facebook and show pictures of my family. And so it's not just a business thing. So I don't know, maybe that's part of the reason why it's kind of an easy fit.
Yeah, it's definitely been, I feel like, I mean, you could tell me if I'm wrong here, but I definitely feel like the real estate has really flowed for you. Like, I felt when I knew you before, when you were working within the marketing company, I felt like you were in like this place of force where like life seemed like to be a little bit more of a struggle for you back then.
Yeah.
And then when you made the switch to real estate, it seems to be like things have just begun to flow,
Yeah, I've always loved real estate. Like, I didn't necessarily know if I wanted to sell it, but watching the shows that were on TV about flipping real estate, and this was way back when it was thin in Maryland, Detroit, flipping houses. I loved it. I loved watching it. I loved the process. Had no idea how to do it. Wasn't educated on it. So I figured, part of my thinking originally as becoming a realtor was to help myself facilitate deals, save commissions, be able to find properties easier. Obviously, I couldn't get off the ground running doing flipping houses in the market that we had when I started. So you have to start selling and build a little bit of a network and get some financial backing. But I love real estate. Like, every house I walk into, people are like, yeah, but you got to work weekends and you got to leave birthday parties. And I'm like, well, not really. Like, I can manage my schedule. And if I do, I still love walking into that house. It doesn't matter how big a piece of shit that house is. I appreciate it. And I can start in my head saying, okay, we'll knock these walls down. We could open this up, open concept to the kitchen. We'll add a powder room here. And I just love every single house that I walk into, whether it's $1 million or $100,000. So that's why the transition from, agent, and then light bulb went off as, to become an appraiser. It was kind of just a common fit. And I heard that there was a shortage of appraisers in our area. So just, additional income and additional knowledge there's pretty good education that comes along with being an appraiser and helping you to calculate investments and investment properties. And I knew I wanted to flow into that. And then, as becoming an investor as well, again, all of those tools that I've kind of built and learned along the way have helped me to get to where I am today. And, it almost seems like I'm starting to transition more towards the investment side than the sales side. But the majority of my clients are investors right now, which is not the best thing, because investors have a number at the end of the day, what they're willing to pay for their bottom line to make sense. So I'm writing offers, 5, 10, 15 offers a week and getting 0 of them sometimes, right? So that can be difficult, but it's just that it seems like that's the ball game I'm in right now. I'm surrounded by investors. I'm investing, constantly looking for new flips. It's just it's my passion. I get out of bed every day, and I'm blessed. I feel like so grateful that I can do what I do every single day.
Yeah, that's the ticket, is that, and that's where I feel like I'm at with coaching, and what I'm doing is like there's just so much energy in it. It doesn't feel like work. There is no grind. There is no hustle. Like, I just feel like it's just all just flowing. And even when I have challenging days, I've had a few challenging days recently. I got a big real estate deal going on myself, actually, and there's been some challenging days, but it's still fun, and I enjoy doing it. So I think when you get aligned with your passion, that is when, or your purpose, whatever it is, like whatever you're meant to do here, that's when you move from that force where you were before to like just flow. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about was focus. We touched on that because I'm under the belief that when you have one focus, you tend to, you can get way more done. But you've kind of spread out a little bit. But now, as I'm listening to you kind of talk, it's like you are still focused on one thing, which is real estate. It's just morphing. It's just changing. Like when I started my coaching business, it was like, I'm just going to be coaching people one-on-one, right? But then it was like, oh no, I'm going to transition into groups. I'm going to create online courses. So it was all still under the umbrella of coaching, but I'm just kind of going out in different directions, and that's what I feel like you're doing as well.
Yeah. It's if there's one good thing that I'll toot my horn on, it's that I'm really good at managing my own time, and some other people's time, but they don't like me saying that. But like my day is. There's really not much time to breathe at the end of the day. I do appraisals between 8 and 11. I squeeze the gym in when I have time. I have to pick the kids up to and from school. I have showings in the middle of the day. If I'm doing a flip, I have to be there to manage the trades or help pitch in, or put the tool belt on once in a while. And then in the evening, I have to write up my appraisal reports. I have to make dinner. I have to go show houses again. So it's very hard sometimes to juggle, but at the end of the day, I feel like all these pieces of the puzzle, like you say, are helping to create the big picture. And eventually I won't need to do all these little things. Maybe I'll still choose to do them, but in a lighter version. But like you say, it is one thing. It's real estate. It's one game that I'm in. And sometimes you're juggling a lot of balls, but I feel like I love it, and it's moving me in the right direction.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I think happens when you get under that umbrella, is you start realizing what elements of underneath that umbrella you like and you dislike, and then you just kind of start discarding the ones that are like, this isn't serving me. One of the rules that I used to live by when I was running Treehouse mainly was the 80-20 rule, which is like 80% of your business comes from 20% of your effort kind of thing, and then the other 80% of your effort is just kind of useless. And I know this is something that Tony and I talk about a lot. So it's just like eliminate all the other shit and just focus on what makes you the most amount of money or gives you the most amount of fulfillment, as I would rather say, than the money.
Right.
So that's what I think is happening for you, and especially after 10 years being in real estate, you're starting to really get a feel for what it is that you really truly want to do. So let's use that transition to talk a little bit about the flipping, because you have been buying some investment properties, you have some rentals. What have you learned doing the flips?
I've learned that I love it as much as I thought I was going to love it, if not more. I've learned, again, how to build relationships with people in the trades. There's it's very important that, if somebody does a crappy job, that you let them know how you feel. But to break that relationship by calling them names and swearing at them and firing them, it's just not the way to do business. I believe in second chances. So if you come and you screw something up, maybe you were just having a bad day that day, and you can come back the next time, give her a shot. If you're still crap, then I probably won't use you again.
Right.
But it's just it kind of ties in the same thing: relationship building and building that network of different trades and different skill sets, so that eventually, like right now, me and my partner are doing a lot of the work ourselves and subbing out some of the bigger things, but we want to get to a point where we just show up and check in on people and set appointments and don't have to be too involved at all. We like doing some things, but it takes a lot of time. So if we can get this down to where we're just checking in on people doing the work for us, that's ultimately the direction we want to go to, right? So,
yeah, definitely. And is this the market to be flipping in?
No, not well. I mean, if you can get a property under your belt, it is, because the market is appreciating so quickly that if you calculate what your profit's going to be today and you sell the house in 6 months, you're going to be very happy because the market's increased that much. So in addition to your profit, if you stuck to your numbers, you have your profit and then you have the market increase. So what I'm finding a lot is that some of these investors from other cities who probably have deeper pockets, they're kind of factoring in market appreciation, which is very difficult to do. And that's why I think we're losing a lot of these bids. Like we write offers regularly and we have our bottom line. And this is what I feel like the house will be worth if the market is what it is today. And we're losing all of them. So it's the people who have, like, we bid $170,000 over on a property and lost by $100,000. That's how crazy some of the out-of-town money is. And it'll be interesting to see what happens to that property. I'll keep an eye on it to see how they do. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. You can only do what you're educated in, and that's what we're doing. We're sticking to our guns. It's one of the rules we were taught. Like you get 1 out of every 20 maybe. Yeah. So you just got to stay the course, and kind of stick to it.
Here's where I feel there's an opportunity. You can tell me if I'm right or not, or if you think I'm right. I think right now, as far as flipping goes, there's an opportunity to buy small houses with big yards and do like a bump out or something along those lines. Like that's what I kind of feel like is where we're going. I think the neighborhoods that are less desirable areas, not saying bad areas, but just they're not like the Riverside kind of areas, where you can still find a house under $300,000. I feel that there's room to find houses in that area and expand on them, because those might be the up and coming areas in the next 5 years, not even 5 years, 2-3 years, because that's the only place people are going to be able to go to afford.
Yeah. And again, everyone says, what do you think is going to happen? It's so hard to predict what's going to happen here locally. But I mean, you look at the economy, you look at the pandemic, you look at all the things that are going on, and you just scratch your head. Yeah. Like, why in the last 2 years has our market gone up close to 40%? Why? When people are losing their jobs and businesses are closed, and it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So when somebody says, what do you think is going to happen to the market? I just kind of shrug my shoulders because I don't know. But I think you're right. There is an opportunity for that. If the housing values continue to rise, we're going to have to start looking at Ford City and houses off of Drouillard and Henry Ford and places like that, where we can still get those properties, under $300,000 and kind of fix them up and revitalize those areas. The city has done something by allowing, additional dwelling units now. So people are building little tiny homes in the back of their properties that back onto alleys. You can also do basement suites and things like that, or just like you say, a bump out and add a suite off the back, either to make your primary residence bigger or as a secondary unit to gain some income off of. So I think we are going to see that transition. It's what happened in Hamilton and the Toronto area when the pricing got this high and it became harder and harder to find homes. It's kind of just, I think, a natural progression of what needs to happen. Even West Windsor's, coming back pretty big, and once the bridge is built, and who knows what's going to happen over there. So
yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity in Windsor, and I think the pandemic. I mean, my take is I think the pandemic made people leave the big cities, right? There's it's different when you're locked down in a gigantic city to being locked down in Windsor, where it's like there's no traffic, a lot of outdoor area. If you're locked down in a townhome or an apartment, it's a lot different than being locked down in a nice big beautiful house where you can walk to a park or whatever, not drive hours in traffic, and then also not be around people, because there's a lot of fear of being in a big city center with millions of people. You want to be able to have your 6 feet of social distancing for the people that are worried about the fear. So I think there's a big flood there was already a flood of people coming from Toronto to buy up cheap real estate, but I think even more so now because people are leaving the big cities to get out of that. So I don't think my gut instinct is I think we're going to see a leveling off. Like I think these bidding wars eventually might kind of slow down, but I don't think the market is going to dip. Like that's my thought.
Yeah, I don't think it is either. And even if it did, like we're talking probably 5 years at least. The last time I can remember writing an offer that we weren't in multiples. Yeah. So this isn't just happening in the last couple of years. It's gotten a lot crazier in the last couple of years, but we've been writing multiple offers for 5 years probably. And yeah, like even if we were to dip 10%, in the last 5 years, we're probably up 100%. It's insane. The average price of a home when I started real estate was $175,000. Now, I would estimate by the end of the year, we're going to be close to $5 million, which is insane.
Nuts.
In 10 years, right?
Yeah.
But even if you look in the last 2 or 3 years, I'm appraising homes that are doubling. So I appraised a home that was built for $375 and sold for $780. 3 years later. It's wild. It is wild. So good on people who are in the market and have that equity in their pocket now, because we've probably made a lot of millionaires in Windsor from this. Anybody who's owned multiple properties has got a big grin on their face. But I just feel terrible for the first-time home buyers. And I've got nephews that are trying to get in the market, and I'm doing everything I can to try and find a solution for them. It seems like the only solution is to either buy something with someone else or buy a multi-unit, live in half and subsidize your mortgage payment that way. Or right now, I think we're just trying to find a lot, and they can pay down the lot and in 3 or 4 years then decide to build.
Yeah, that's a good
because
solution.
the price of land's going up so fast too that you're just going to continue to miss the boat if you don't get in the market. So it's a challenge for first-time buyers for sure.
Yeah. But you would suggest for first-time buyers to just get in though, in some way, shape, or form. Is that what you would think?
Yeah, I mean, if you can afford it, get in somehow.
I like the option though of even using land though. It's like
land, and we're seeing a lot. And this is why, as an appraiser, I'm appraising a ton of refis for families that want to pull out equity in their home so they can help their kids. Right. Because if you don't make $100,000, the average first time home buyer is like $280 to $350, somewhere in there is where you're going to be paying. You got to make $100,000 to afford a $320,000 house, right? So like it's tough. So a lot of these parents are pulling out equity and they're helping on down payments, or they're helping on putting some of the mortgage on their line so that they can get approved easier. So you got to be a little bit creative. But yeah, if there's any advice I can say to a buyer, if you plan on being a homeowner, get in the market. Yeah, because it's
only going up.
It's even since January. Like we could be up 8% just since January. 10%. It's get in the market.
Yeah, right, 100%. Yeah, and I think also get creative, like like look at fixer uppers, look at less desirable areas, because I feel that those areas are going to be, that's where people are going to start moving. It's like you see a little bit of it happening in Walkerville and Ford City, the Drewlard area. I mean, even I lived in that area for 15 years when my first house I ever bought, and even that house now, that house is probably worth $300,000 now. I bought it for $100,000. It didn't change in value. I bought it for $100,000. I sold it for $150,000 15 years later, and then 5 years later, it sold for $225,000 or something along those lines, right? So, yeah, it's like you got to get creative on how you're going to get in the market. And roommates, that's where we're going, I think, is that kind of style, right? Because we're going to be, you're just not going to be able to afford it. You have to get creative. Yeah,
you can't be afraid to buy a house with a friend. I mean, obviously, it's got to be a friend that you trust, and if it means coming up with the proper paperwork so that everything's legally binding and nothing's going to happen down the road. But my first house I bought with a friend, and we were going to live in each one up and one down, but we decided to just live together. We were in our younger years and same type of lifestyle, so why not rent out the upstairs and basically live mortgage free? And it'll be tougher to do that now, but you can live very affordably if you have somebody subsidizing your rent in the upper or lower or whatever. So it's a really good option if people want to go that route. Other than that, if you're planning on just, living on your own, it's just going to be a lot tougher. That's all.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, definitely. And is there any thought that the banks might go to like longer term mortgages too? Like, have you heard any talk about that? Like that's what they're doing in Toronto, isn't it? Like 40-year mortgages and shit.
Yeah.
Like
And
that.
I just wonder what average home price we need to get to for that to become a thing.
Right.
I think there are some 30-year mortgages. We had that, and then they went down and clamped down to 25. So I don't know if they're going to start allowing 30s or if there are some that are doing 30s, but yeah, it'd be nice to see if they could get us back up to a 40 or up to a 40, so that it would, lower the payments that people have to make on a monthly basis, make it a little bit more affordable. But I don't know. I've always said that for the last couple of years myself, that if we get to the point where, we're over 500,000 as the average price, our incomes in Windsor-Essex County haven't gone up that fast, right? So if the house prices have, something's got to give. So I'm not sure. That's obviously a banking decision, and I'm no expert in the mortgage market, but they say rates will start to slowly increase soon.
Yep.
And that's going to make it even harder. So I don't know if they're going to look at that. I hope they do.
Do you think the rates will slow the market a little bit?
I hope so. I hope anything slows the market.
Yeah.
In my opinion, the only thing that's going to slow the market right now is more listings. We need more listings. We need an influx of listings so that it's not such a feeding frenzy on the same house. If you had 6 houses on the same street that were all taking offers on Friday, you would only have 3-4 offers per house instead of 15 offers on one house. So if we can get more listings on the market and eventually get back to an even market, everybody thinks as realtors, we love this. We're making so much money. Well, you know what? Like I've probably won 2 out of the last 30 offers I've written.
Right.
So, and then you'll go through a time where you'll get 8 in a row or 10 in a row. So it's a very roller coaster ride. We prefer an even market. We want not a buyer's market, not a seller's market. We prefer an even market. That's what's easiest for buyers and sellers. That's what's best for realtors to do our jobs. So that's what we prefer.
Yeah, that's interesting because I think everyone's thinking, realtors, they're all making a fortune right now, but it's like you're doing quadruple the work, and every now and then you're getting something accepted.
Yeah, try showing 60 houses in a week and getting no income from it.
Yeah,
right. That's pretty regular. So it just is what it is.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all really good stuff. The other thing I want to touch on is that you mentioned time management and how it's been one of your skills. Like, what do you think it is? Is it the fact that you're just so scheduled, like actually having scheduled appointments, or do you actually have like a process where you take the time to review your week? Or
no, I do need to get better, because I'm to the point now where I'm finding I'm starting to drop a few balls just because I'm so tapped. I use my calendar and my phone to remind me to do pretty much anything. Take out the garbage, recycling day, just because there's so many things in my head that I don't want to forget anything. So I use my phone as much as possible. And at the beginning, actually the night before, I'll say, what do I got tomorrow? I pull up my calendar. Yeah. Usually I know what that is, but sometimes I'm surprised that, oh crap, I forgot I got to go to Colchester tomorrow, and now I've double booked and I have to move things around. And so I would like to come up with a little bit better of a system, or just get a little bit of help in that area. But for the most part, it's just, I'm very anal about time management. It's, if I'm ever late to an appointment, it was because of circumstances that were not in my control. I even pad for that. So it's like, I need to be there at 4:15. I'm going to be there at 4 just in case of traffic. So if I'm still late, then, shame on me, but there's something that went on there. And always I'll give the person a call and say, I'm going to be a few minutes late. Nothing I hate more than showing up somewhere and having to wait for someone. I just think it's
that is such a critical point for anyone that's looking to, not even just to be in business. Obviously, if you run your own business or you're a real estate agent, in some form of self-employment, that one little fact right there is so overlooked. I remember when I was a kid, I started my window washing company, and I said there's only 3 things I need to focus on doing: is showing up on time, being super courteous, and doing a good job. It's like, that's all I had to do. And I did pretty much zero advertising, and I grew that company as a 16-year-old from 0 customers, not even a single customer, to doing $100K a year in sales. And it was just because I followed those 3 things, and they get so overlooked with, just not showing up on time, not being courteous, not actually taking pride in what it is that you're doing, right? So that's critical. And it goes for if you have a job too. It's just show up on time and be in a good mood, and it's going to make the world of difference. Go the extra mile for whoever it is that you're working for. And if you do those things, you're going to rise. And I think that's like, another factor that we could put on the reason why you're successful in real estate is because of just that one simple rule. It's like, I'm going to be there on time, and if I'm not, I'm going to give you a call. And then when I do show up, I'm going to be in a good mood and courteous. And you also, the third one I would add for you would be humor as well, like because you're always like joking around and having fun. It's like kind of like when we were looking at houses, it was fun. We were laughing. Granted, we've been friends for a long time, so that was natural. But I think that's just kind of who you are, right, as a person, just like to have a good time.
Yeah, I think those things go a long way. It's like you say, it's happiness is contagious, right? So if I show up somewhere and I'm looking at a house and I kind of know what my buyer's looking for, obviously, and I can sense that it's not for them, but you crack jokes here and there and make some jokes about the finishings and just make them comfortable, as opposed to, why did he bring me through this? Because not every single house that my clients see was to the T exactly what they wanted. There's some question marks there. So sometimes they're like, geez, what am I doing here? But again, just bring a little bit of humor to it. And like you say, the happiness is contagious. It's a positivity thing, which sometimes I have to try and remind myself about too, is no matter what, stay positive, try and rid those negative things out of your day. And it just makes for a much better day than if you're dragging your ass all day and just acting like you don't want to be there, and it just never goes well.
Yeah, people feed off it. You don't even need to say it. They feel the energy, right?
Yeah.
When it's not genuine. But time management though plays a role in that. If you feel like you're just scrambling, like, oh, I forgot to do this, and you're running from one place to the next, you're going to show up, and people are going to feed off of that, and they're going to understand that you're not controlling your time well, you're disorganized, whatever it may be, and they're gonna feel that energy, and it's gonna shift. So I recorded a video actually, and I'll plug it here. It's called like my 5 circles method, which is essentially every year I do like what do I want out of my life, right? And so I put that in one circle. I don't actually make the circles, but so what do I want out of my life? And then I say, okay, well, what do I got to do this year to move me towards my life goals, so that I make my yearly goals, right? And then I do, what do I need to do this month to move me towards my yearly goals, and what do I need to do this week? And that's at the weekly level is basically where I do most of my work. So usually when I'm on my game, every Sunday night I'm sitting down and I'm looking at my monthly goals, which are connected to my yearly and my life goals, and I'm saying, okay, here are all the things that I need to do, and I actually physically schedule them into my calendar, right? And I know you've always been like up with technology. Like I remember you were like one of the first people that was doing like e-sign and that kind of thing, right? So using technology to your advantage, I think is huge. Like you've been so good with that stuff. I don't know if you have any talking points on that at all, but
I mean, I wish I could be better at it. It's one of the things that kind of slips through the cracks sometimes, but I do try and stay up with those things with technology and the latest and greatest tools. But I think now it's become so much the norm with electronic signatures. It makes everybody's life easier. I don't have to drive all the way 45 minutes to the other side of Leamington to go get an initial because we changed the closing date. Like, it's huge. So these tools are being implemented, and some people may have bigger learning curves than others. But yeah, and it's like I say, it's one thing that I'm constantly watching. I don't know if you've heard of Clubhouse. I think I did tell you about Clubhouse.
Yeah, I haven't got into it yet, but yeah.
So it's basically just rooms of professionals who are talking about specific topics, and you can just kind of chime in and listen, or you can raise your hand and talk. And so I try to get into these ones that are about real estate technology and tips and tricks for marketing and things like that. And I'm just listening to that in the car as I'm driving, and every once in a while something sticks, and you try and implement it. So that's basically that, and just listening to like ebooks and things like that as I'm driving to try and see what I can retain and what I can use. But I'm so bad at like implementing it because I don't have time.
Yeah.
So that's where now we're trying to get some assistance where I'm basically just going to pay somebody hourly to kind of take on some of the balls that are getting dropped, and hopefully that's going to help. I think it'll help immensely.
Yeah, and that's a good indicator of when things start when things start slipping through the cracks. That's a good indicator that it's like, okay, it's time to bring on more help, because you can only manage so much, and you only have so much time in the day. So eventually, if you start dropping the ball. I remember that happening. At the bar, I was like just getting busier and busier, and I was like, okay, I need to bring someone else on because I can't handle this all on my own. So it's a good problem to have, but it is hard to let go of the control, that you once had. So that will be your challenge when that finally comes into play. Yeah. So, I mean, all really good stuff. I think this was like insanely valuable. One, just to hear your story and to hear, I think, what kind of like your superpowers are. Just to kind of review it, and maybe if I forget any, but I think it's like honesty. I think is like number one. Like just like I think that's what people are drawn to you for, is just like your honesty. Like you tell you like it is, and people like to be surrounded by those type of people because they're not just like yes men. Keeping up with technology, I think, would be another one for you. Is like big. It's just trying to stay up with the trends, getting connected to what it truly was you wanted to do, having the courage to make a shift. Like these are all the ones that I was kind of pulling from the podcast. One of the questions we talked about before, and it still put you on the spot, but like, what do you think are the three things that really move the needle for you in your life?
Well, money. I mean,
yeah,
not in a greed sense.
Right.
I never pictured myself being wealthy and having the boat and, having all kinds of money. But I have pictured myself working hard to build, a portfolio that will allow me to not have to work my whole life, or at least not have to work in the capacity that most full-time 40-hour-a-week people have to work. I want to get to a point where I can kind of get my business on cruise control and spend time with my kids and my wife, watch them grow. My kids are 8 and 5. They're getting into the years that are going to be really fun to coach and to watch them play sports and to go to their high school events and, take on vacations. And it'll just be really nice to not have to worry about, the schedule when that time comes. So it's kind of one of the main things that I focus on and sometimes to a fault, just head down, earn. Like no matter what, just keep earning. Right. And eventually we'll get to that point. And hopefully, the same situation with my wife. That's one of my biggest goals, is to retire my wife. And we're getting close, and it'll really be exciting if I can just say, talk to HR and give your notice.
Yeah. And that's a bigger why than just making money, right? Also, and I think you focused on when you say money. I think you have done, what is proper is like, you can't save your way to wealth, in some ways. So anytime that I want to do something new in my life or, want to take advantage of a new opportunity, I just always focus on, well, I'm just going to make more money, right? It's like, oh, I want this. Oh, well, okay, let's just find out how we can make more money to make sure we cover changing our way. We want to live in a bigger house. Okay, well, how can we increase our income, right? So as an employee, sometimes you get out of that mindset, but there's still opportunities even as an employee to do these types of things, So I think that's where you're at as well. Like, I don't think it was savings, was it? Like, you can tell me that.
No, it was never about savings. I'm a terrible saver. Yeah. I'm a spender. I spend to a fault. I just sometimes don't even think about and check the account to see if there's enough in there. I just hope. So, you're out and you're just, I think I'm going to bought a virtual reality headset the other day, and she's like, I never heard you talk about this. I'm like, oh, I saw a commercial. It looked pretty cool. And then just impulse buys sometimes. And so to a fault, I don't want to have to worry about that. I'm a terrible saver, but I feel like if I do the things that I'm educated to do and that I've been learning, implement those things, that the pieces will fall into place, and hopefully we'll just be comfortable. Like when I say money, I just hope that doesn't come across as sounding greedy. It's not like everything's about money. It's more of a comfortability thing. People say money can't buy happiness. Well, bullshit, it can't, right? Like there are things that money allow you to do that make you happy. It can't buy happiness. You could be the richest person in the world but not have a wife and kids and no friends, and obviously you're not going to be a happy person. But money can allow you to do the things that make you happy, like go on vacations, and even to the extent of helping other people. Like never did I ever think that I would want to be I don't know if the word's philanthropist, but I want to help. Like I see the homeless people, I see people in need, and I want to help. And you can't do that if you don't have money, right? Yep. I mean, you can raise money, you can do fundraisers, but ultimately, you need to be in a position where people look at you as somebody that they respect and can kind of take on some of those things, take on a big fundraiser. Like our buddy Smitty, for example. I mean, the stuff that he's been doing for various different associations, that's I applaud that, and it's something that, you know, I want to do. So
Yeah.
when I say money, it's kind of a grand scheme thing. I want to be able to do a lot of things with it, and I just feel like that's kind of you said what moves the needle, that moves the needle.
Yeah.
That's
And
what,
it's not even just about what makes you happy and being able to do things that make you happy. Because I mean, if you listen to a lot of my stuff, happiness comes from within. But it's also about creating opportunity, right? It's like, if you don't, like Warren Buffett, like, you know, if you want to go to the guy that is like one of the richest men in the world, he says, if you don't have the money to take advantage of opportunities, you know, you're never going to be able to take advantage of any opportunities. And it's so true. And so, I mean, this is a perfect example. It's like, I just bought a $2.25 million piece of property, and it's like, if I didn't have money, you know, I wouldn't have been able to take advantage of that. So there is an element of, and that property is gonna help all kinds of people. You know, it's going to be a retreat center where people are going to be able to come and spend weeks to, you know, get healthy. So it's like, without money, without having that, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. So it's not just about just making you happy, whatever. It's also if you want to take advantage of opportunities, you have to have some way that you're going to be able to do that, and that comes from either saving, which is slow, and I'm actually a fan of saving. I've kind of become addicted to it, but also earning. You got to be able to earn a decent living. It's like, you know, if you remain stuck at a low level of income, it's like you're not going to be able to take advantage of the opportunities other people are going to be able to take. It's like really that simple. And then that actually I made a note here was that I don't mind the idea of being mortgage poor. You know, like a lot of people say, oh, you're going to be mortgage poor. It's like, well, big deal. It's like
good debt.
Yeah, it's good debt, and it forces you to save. Like, you know, one of the things that I do saving wise is my wife and I save pretty aggressively, and we just take it monthly, right out of our account, right? And it's like we just live less extravagant lives, but we're saving a ton of money. So if you have a big mortgage and you're not saving a ton of money, you're just putting it into the mortgage, which in this market, I mean, my house alone has almost doubled in value. I bought it 3 years ago, right? So it's like, I don't mind having a big mortgage because that's just a future investment, you know? So being mortgage poor will force you to become more frugal, essentially.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So that's what my wife and I do with savings is we save aggressively so that we are frugal and we don't go out and spend, $5,000 on buying something. We have to think, or do we have that money available? And because most of it's already locked away into investment. So I think that's really good. What else? What is so? I mean, money, opportunity, having the ability to have opportunity. Anything else that you think that really moved the needle in the last?
Other than that, it all kind of just falls in the same category. I mean, my family is what is what drives me, right? I see my 2 kids and I see them growing, and you know, it's kind of cool being a little bit older and a little bit more established to be able to have more time with them.
Right.
And it's just, I see the direction they're heading. And like I say, they're just starting. They're 8 and 5. He's going to be in grade 3. He's not even really playing like grade school sports yet. And I just feel like it's so far away. But those are the things that, you know, I want to experience, and I want to make sure that they have the things they need to experience them, and that we're in a comfortable position so we can give them everything that they need. I mean, we don't obviously want to spoil them, but we want to be able to give them those things.
Yeah,
so
and I love that.
important.
Actually, I'm going to put you in deeper on that one. It's like your why changed, right? Before, when it was just you, then that I think that was one of the critical factors, right? Is like, because right around the time you got into real estate was you were already married then. You had just gotten married.
Close. Yeah, I got married probably about 3 years after I started, I think.
3 years after you started. Yeah, right. So it's just, leading up until that moment, it was like kind of all about you and that lifestyle, and then all of a sudden something switched and your why changed, and it went from being more selfish to more selfless as opposed to selfish, and it created a major shift, I think, for you.
Yeah, the picture that you had in your head of, success may have been you on a boat with a bottle of champagne and, your hat on backwards and a bunch of girls around you.
Yeah.
And now it's me and my family at a beach house somewhere, vacation property or, whatever, but it's family oriented. I want the kids to be able to grow up in a good environment and, like I say, have the tools that they need to become successful and just make sure that they're happy.
Yeah, I love that. So you do a bunch of things. You're doing real estate investing, your appraisals, and real estate is kind of still your primary gig, I would say. Or I don't know, maybe it's not anymore. But
selling real estate is still my primary gig.
Yeah.
That's what takes up the majority of my time. But
right. So if someone wanted to use you as an agent, especially after listening to this podcast, I think they'll be more connected to who you are and what your message is. How do they reach you? How do they find you?
Well, the good thing about my last name is there is only one Ty Stacyszn in the entire world. So if you Google me, you'll find me very quickly. So Stacyszn is the last name. My mom used to always teach her students, Stacy said, zap your nose. S-Z-Y-N.
There we go.
It sticks and it helps people remember how to spell it. But yeah, I mean, I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I've got, the personal and the business pages. And we're actually going to be creating a new business page on Instagram so we can do some more things on there. But,
and you're with Deerbrook too. They can find you that way as well.
Yeah, I'm currently at Deerbrook Realty. Been there for a long time. And yeah, you can find me on their website as well. I do have my own website, which is tysoldit.com. So yeah, I'm pretty easy to find on social media, and I don't hide my phone number like some other people. So if you want to call me, call me. It's everywhere.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, this is awesome. I didn't really know where we were going with this, but I think you provided a ton of value. So thanks for taking the time to come on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Yeah, we're done. Don't forget, if you haven't already, just make sure you click that subscribe button. Every single Wednesday, I'm bringing on guests and talking about how you can maximize your potential. Thanks for taking the time to watch.